Most people can easily identify some bad habits that they'd like to see themselves change. For some of us, we don't have quite as healthy of a diet as maybe we should. For others, we don't spend enough time on certain hobbies we say we value or would like to get better at. Maybe we feel stuck in an addiction to something we know isn't good for us, like smoking or alcohol, or social media, or wasting money on frivolous shopping. Maybe it's something more internal, like we want to be kinder and more compassionate to people, or maybe be a more present parent with our children. Whatever your vice or vices, you're not alone in wanting to really change, but feeling like it's too difficult, or maybe even impossible, to actually get away from the current bad habit version of yourself. When we're trapped in the loop of trying to break the habit, but constantly falling back into it, we might start to believe we're stuck like this because we've always been this way and there's little possibility of being anything different. We might say to ourselves, I've always had a really weak will against fried foods. I can't say no to them. Or maybe something like, I'm always drinking. I haven't been able to make it through an evening without at least one drink for as long as I can remember. This whole of hopeless absolutism can feel like a convincing place to be, but in reality, it's a shallow illusion. It's simply not true that you've always been susceptible to your vices and bad habits. It's not true at all that your willpower for certain things has always been insufficient. It's not true that you are actually stuck with a destiny of being an undesirable version of yourself. I can say with 100% certainty that no one on earth has a problem or a bad habit that has perfectly sustained itself for that person's entire life, or even for a substantially long period of time in that person's life. And I can say that with so much certainty because it is a fact that human beings simply are not static creatures. We inherently are not constructed to permanently stay the same. We are different from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. We are different from Sunday to Saturday. We're different in the winter from in the summer. We're different from when we're young to when we're old. We're different when we're winning versus when we're losing. We're different when we have energy from when we're tired. We are different from when we've recently eaten from when we're nearly starving. We are different when we're surrounded by people who love us from when we're alone or with strangers. We are different when someone is smiling at us rather than threatening us. We're different when we're heading towards something with excitement from when we're evading something terrifying. We're different when we know our entire lives depend on this moment right now, versus when we feel like we have endless chances and innumerable days to get it right. We're different when we remember our individual specific little quirks of brilliance, when we remember we don't have to face anything alone, when we remember we've overcome every problem, big or small, so far in this life, when we remember that even if we feel insufficient, we are absolutely not done growing yet. We are different when we think we can do something rather than thinking the situation is hopeless. All of these are deviations from the problematic state. They're blemishes in the face of our obstacles. Clearly, our bad habits are not perfect nor permanently sustainable. The existence of these differences in ourselves means our problems and our bad habits have weaknesses, while simultaneously our best selves and our good habits have triggers and moments of accessibility. So look for those moments. Find the soft spots in the undesirable things you're trying to change. Take advantage of their weaknesses. If you used to tell yourself that you couldn't get through a night without a drink, then how is it that you made it through every morning and afternoon without one? Every second you're away from your unwanted addiction, how do you squeeze out that second of freedom? It couldn't have been no big deal if it is somehow true that your problem is always present, or that you inherently are problematic yourself. So where did these deviations come from? Hopefully, in looking at these kinds of moments in your own life, you begin to see that you don't have to believe that your bad habits are inevitable or immovable. Hopefully, you start noticing all the ways you've already circumnavigated your problems without totally realizing it. And hopefully, this is a strong reminder for you to remember all the things you need to remember about yourself as you face whatever problem you're facing. Use whatever your morning self used to make it this far through the day. Call on your Sunday self to fix your Saturday problems. Remember your summer self when winter feels really hard. Don't let your problems convince you that you and them are one and the same forever and always. You're actually so much more than that, and you most certainly can and do live in moments without them. So go create more proof for your future self to look at. Squeeze out more and more seconds of those deviations from the bad habits until you have no choice but to see that you are actually a good habit kind of person, and that those moments of weak will or shortcomings are the exceptions and not the permanent standard.